Hello all you wonderful people, welcome back to Lynch Paints, and today we're going to be doing something just a little bit different. So if you've been following me on Instagram at Lynch Paints, you might already know that my orcs, they have a bit of a theme, a slight theme, what I like to call the posh gits, or just the fancy boys. And to give you an example, a perfect example, is my Orc War Boss, Sir Big Charles Crumpworth the Third, with his fanciful top hat, monocle, and his cane. All the pictures of this guy are up on my Instagram page. As I say, you can get yourself a good proper look. But he is huge, just to give you an idea or a sense of scale. Here is, where's it gone? Here is a Blood Bowl miniature that I've got going on at the minute as part of another commission. But you can see like the size difference is just ridiculous. Like, he's huge. He is as big as a killer can, and he packs a punch. He's just amazing. He's brilliant. The reason why I made him this big is because just reading the lore behind war bosses and how just immeasurably big they get. And of course his armour is mainly parts of a armature warglaive. You can see like the back, the shoulder pads, his foot, all part of it. His claw, his power claw, is of course part of the it was a killer can claw. So anyway, bit of a tangent. So what we're going to be painting today is one of the new Beast Snagger boys. The part of the new Beast Snagger kit, and it is the knob on Smasha Squig, but he's a little bit different. So what I've done is that I have made him a top hat, and I've given him, made especially, a little smoking pipe. How quaint. Most of the squigs that you've kind of seen Games Workshop do, they've done the squig himself in red. Red is fine, red goes faster, if you believe in Gork and or Mork. But I tend to really like the blue, the Lucky Blue Gits, so the Death Skulls. I know that obviously like the rules have changed a little bit, they're not quite as brutal as they used to be, but I think that a blue squig would look really, really nice. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start out with getting the blue. Alrighty, so the blues we're going to be using today will be Cantor Blue as a base, leading up to Thousand Suns Blue mixed in as like the sort of highlights. And what I want to try and create is like a mid-tone blue with sort of darker blue stripes. But before I lead into that, one thing that I will do first of all is the metal work. So we're going to grab our good old lead belcher, or gunmetal grey if you're that old enough to remember the old names. I sure do. So we're just going to get a little bit, stipple it on, try and wipe most of it off onto a old bit of tissue or a new bit of tissue. And then we're going to go to the leg. Oh yeah, old beaten up brush. Great for dry brushing. And then I'm going to start with the leg and the foot. Also, quick tip, when you are dry brushing with lead belcher and you do metal work, obviously the more paint you have, the shinier it's going to be. So you can see with the leg how it is very, very shiny, very silvery. But over time, the less paint you have on the brush, you do get this kind of dark metal effect, which looks really, really nice. If I kind of try not to get the light on it, almost looks black, and it almost looks like it's just highlighted with the silver. And that gives off, that looks like two very different metals. That's almost like a kind of a polished aluminium, and this is more like a kind of a just an old iron, sort of old steel looking bit of kit. Just thought I'd just kind of mention that as I was going. Handy little tip to have. So if you wanted some bits kind of newer, then obviously you put loads on. But if you wanted some older metalwork thrown in there, do the newer ones first, and then move on to the older metal. And then that way you're not having to spend 10 minutes trying to rub out as much paint off your brush as possible, because you almost need as if there's no paint left, but you just keep going, and then after a while, some real intense brushings, and then it just comes up just a little bit there. Smashing, and we are back. So all the metalwork's done. Done his arm, legs, feet, bits of armour, shoulder pad, his big beating stick, everything. Now we're going to move on to the blue. So we're going to start out with our Cantor blue, and we're going to want let's go with this brush. Alright, so now that we've done most of the model, most of the blue, we're going on to just pure 1000 Suns blue, and what we're going to do is what I always love to do, which is wet blending. Yeah. Alright, so now that we have done all of the 1000 Suns blue, as I mentioned before, we're going to move on to a lighter blue. I just grabbed the first sort of lighter blue. You can use any blue, as long as it's lighter than the previous one. And I have got with me today Phrygian Grey. Hey, that rhymed. Ooh. Anyway, so what we're doing is picking out the very kind of raised edges, the raised highlights. Just going to water it down, just because it flows nicer. You can get a bit more accuracy with it when it's unlike that bit. Rub that out. You can usually get a bit more accuracy when it's watered down. Alright, now this next part is going to be a bit of a bravery test. So, I mean, you can leave it. Sorry. You can leave it how it is, which is perfectly fine, and then you can work on the underbelly, being a lighter colour if you want to do. That is entirely up to you, but I'm going to just take it to the next level. I'm going to do some stripes. So we've done obviously all this lovely wet blending work and picking out the highlights, and then what we're going to do is that we're just going to mix up, I think it's more like a 50-50 mix of Phrygian Grey and 1000 Suns blue, and then water it down because we want it to flow really nicely. And we're going to pick, let's say, here. And we're just going to make a bit of a stripy shape. Now, it may look rough at first, but that is totally fine. Because after a couple of layers, it should look really, really nice. And the same down the other side. I'm just going to completely go over all the nice blending and highlighting that we've done previously. Make a little stripe. And then we're going to do that several times, up and down, as thin or as thick as you like. And we'll be back. Alright, now that we have some stripes laid out on this guy, we're going to introduce a little bit more grey and just do some lighter stripes, but we're going to be aiming to create stripes within the stripes, if that makes sense. So kind of like leaving a border around, and we're just going to go within the stripes. Okie dokie, so now that we've done all of the blue areas, we're going to focus on the underbelly. So we're going to get our bleach bone. And then we've kind of worked out roughly where it's going to be. So we just kind of want the soft underbelly. Again, just watering down your paints just a little bit, just to help with the flow. And we're going to kind of work up to, where do you reckon? Maybe about there. Maybe just before those kind of little raised areas. So then, while we've been waiting for the underbelly to dry, I thought it would be a good idea to get the first couple of layers done on the orc himself, just to get some of the greens done out of the way with. If you want to know the recipe, then do please check out my previous video where I have done an orc and went through the step-by-steps of how I do the skin. So now I'm going to be focusing on all of the leather. So that's his trousers, his belt, and the harness straps that attach him to the Royal Squigly McPiggly. Okay, now the next step we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at going back over some of the metal work we've done previously. What I've done is that I have gone back over the skin with a little bit of the Ork flesh base colour. Just watered it down and just kind of going over some of the lighter areas. You can kind of see just round by the jawbone, under here, just around the face, just picking out from round the chest and from round where they have attached his bionic arm and his knuckles, all the raised areas, just to give it just that little extra bit of colour. So what we're going to do is that we're going to grab our lead belcher, and I'm going to want to have a small brush, and I'm going to wipe most of it off our brush. I don't want it to be too shiny, so just going to kind of go around here. You can see on the weapon that I've given it a very, very light dry brush, and that's because we want some of the areas to be more of a dull silver, just to give a bit of a contrast to the different metals. So now with the Graynote Steel, because it's a very, very lighter blue, it's going to want to use just a little bit, just to pick out the corners of some of these areas. Just on his weapon, on his huge chopper. You can see around the top where we've just gone over with the lead belcher, and then towards this end I'm just picking out just kind of little areas with the Graynote Steel, and that gives us a nice little blend. I'm going to go over that exhaust, going to go over the edge of this chopper boy. And now that we're happy with those results, we'll move on to weathering, which is one of my favourite things to do with the metalwork. And it's great because orcs, of course, they like to loot and pillage whatever scraps of metal that they can. So I'm going to start out with a nice dry brush. I'm going to use some of the Riser Rust. Riser? I'll go with that. So it's a really nice rust effect. And then we just get a nice, start zooming in, a nice, just old, knackered little stipply brush. And then we're just going to wipe off most of it. So it's like a dry brush, effectively. And then we're going to pick out, let's say, some of this bit. And you're just going to dab. You don't really want to use brush strokes. You just kind of want to stipple. I'm going to do on the front here. You can kind of see that that blue, that Graynote silver, has worked really nicely on that front dome. Just gives it a nice little edge. Okay, so now that bit has been taken care of, we're going to move on to the next colour in our collection, which is, and I'm going to completely butcher this name, Lilac Oxide? The copper oxide effect that you can get. And we're going to want a little brush, just a little one, and we're going to want to pick out, and it works really nicely alongside the rust, but we're going to want to pick out like some rivets, bolts, and it's like a wash, this sort of paint. You can kind of see there, looks really nice. Okay, now that we have had some fun with that paint, I'm going to move on to the third one, which I highly recommend, which is Typhus Corrosion. I have had this paint for quite a while now. It's got a little bit gloopy, so I need to get some more. And what it is, effectively, is a very deep brown wash that has sort of tiny grains of sand mixed in. So when it dries, it gives this really great texture effect. It's really good to apply that on first, and then dry brush stuff like the riser rust over the top, because that picks out the raised areas and makes it look really nice. It's a really nice texture. I'm going to just pop it on there, just underneath. Might go over these teeth. Just like so. So when it's dry, I might come back to it and dry brush over the top. And now we've done that, and we're going to move on from weathering over to some of the brown areas. Just going to revisit some of them, because I have gone over in places with the other colours, like with the skin, metalwork, that sort of thing. So we want a fairly small brush. Just want to water it down a little bit, and like with the metal, I'm just going to pick out the areas where the light's going to hit it first, just to give a bit of contrast. And now we're going to move on to his hide. This is at the back. So you can kind of see that there's like a claw coming here, and it's kind of draped over his back. Got the spikes up there. Now this, you can choose whatever colour you like. You can go with reds, purples, blues. You can just leave it as like a kind of a grey colour. But what I'm going to do is, well, I can't really do blue because the Squig himself is blue. Can't really do green because the boar boss himself is green. So I'm going to go with the purple, I reckon. Yeah, why not? I'm going to start out with, let me grab it over here, Zurus Purple. Yeah, it's probably called something else. I don't know where Games Workshop gets their names from. But I'm going to do a purple, starting out just over here, because I wanted something just a little bit eye-catching and something just a little bit different. So I figured, why not purple? So I'm going to do this all over the cape, just being careful not to go over any of the areas that we've already covered. And I'll be right back for the next step. So ended up changing my mind. So I started out with the purple for the pelts, but as I was painting it, I thought, no, purple and green is a good colour, but I just couldn't help myself from thinking about the Joker. So I decided to go instead for a red. And as it turned out, the red was really nice to put on top of the purple. So it turned out all right in the end. So I'm just using some Wazdaka red just to go over and pick out some of the highlights and the raised areas over this cape. And as far as happy accents go, it's turned out pretty well, really. Oh, sorry. Get it in focus. It's turned out really, really nicely. Okie dokie. So that cape is pretty well finished there. I've done the horns, the spikes even at the top. I've done his little claws on the side. And he's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over some of the accessories. So I'm talking like the tooth here on his earring, the little belt buckle there. Going to do his eyes, his teeth, his little sort of bracelet here with another tooth on there as well. Just kind of gonna go over, make sure I've covered everything. I've pretty much covered the basics. So yeah, just over to the accessories. Might do something with that cable there. And I'll be back in a mo. Okie dokie, he is pretty well finished. All we've got to do now is just apply a layer of sterling mud all over the base, or some of the other sort of basing texture paints that Games Workshop provide. I've already started to stick on some of the cork lumps just on there, just to give it a little bit more texture to it. But yeah, he is very well finished. So we're going to move on to the basing. I've already done a video for that, so I'll just kind of cut ahead to that, and we'll see what it looks like when he's all finished. Okay, so the basing is finished. I used the same method as I had done in the previous video all about basing. If you want to check that out, the link will be provided in the description below. And this is the knob on Smasha Squig, Sir Reginork II, finished and completed. I hope that you have enjoyed today's video and learnt something new from it. And if you have done, then please give this video a like. It really does just make me happy, really. And if you have stumbled across this video and haven't done already, then please feel free to subscribe as well. I don't have many videos at the moment, but I'm trying to do as many as I can, at least once a month for the time being. These beautiful models are currently out at the minute, outside of the Beast Snagger box set, so if you wanted to go and pick one up yourself, then there is a link in the description for my Wayland Games affiliate link, which you can use to support the channel. There's nothing extra that you have to do other than just clicking the link, and a little bit of commission just goes my way and helps support my channel. There will be stills of this model going up onto my Instagram page at Lynch Paints. So if you want to go check that out, give me a follow, that would be amazing. So yeah, without further ado, I will catch you next time. Stay safe, stay beautiful, and we'll see you next time.